With so many podcasts out there, shows can get lost in the shuffle. That's why we implore you to check out Too Many Captains. You can find us at amoviepodcast.com.
5 unique takes on Hollywood movies and culture. Find us on Twitter at It's a Film Podcast.
Check our intellectual deep dives into theatrical films. Find us on Instagram at Too Many Captains Productions.
Unique takes on soundtracks. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Too Many Captains Productions.
Find us at amoviepodcast.com on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Play. And now, here comes a new episode of Collateral Cinema.
I'm Bo Maddox.
I'm Robert Oregon.
I'm Ashley Chancellor.
I'm Captain Nostalgia.
And this is Collateral Cinema. Welcome to Collateral Cinema, the only movie podcast that matters, where we focus on good movies, bad movies, and everything else in between in the world of cinema. We're podcasting straight from somewhere in South Texas, and yes, my friends, we are a 420-friendly podcast. So whatever you have, be it dabs, blunts, bongs, or joints, smoke it if you've got it. And Merry fucking Christmas, everybody. Happy holidays, happy Christmas Kwanzaa, whatever you celebrate. This is a joyous time of year. Isn't that right, guys?
I would say this is a deadly time of year.
Very deadly. Oh. Yeah, the scariest time of year, apparently, according to the grandfather in this movie.
Who's that voice we hear? There's a guest on this episode?
Yeah, there's a guest on this episode.
This is a crosscast.
Crosscast, woohoo!
Hey! Yeah, well, we're happy to welcome back Captain Nostalgia on the podcast for the second year in the row on a holiday special. I don't know. Is this just going to be a thing now?
I mean, I tried to do this one year with another podcast, and it didn't work out in my favor. So I'm game to do this as a tradition if you guys want to do moving forward.
What are we doing
just
next
don't make
year?
me watch Silent Night, Deadly Night 2.
Yeah, don't watch that.
No, that's pretty much just a clip show all the way through.
Even though it's free on YouTube, don't watch it.
Yeah, it's even free on Tubi. Don't watch it.
Don't watch it.
I made the mistake of watching it right after the first one, and I was like, man, this is terrible.
Yeah.
Why did this get made?
It got made for the meme, man. That's why. A garbage day.
And I don't understand how people still love this movie with a passion.
I don't get it either, honestly. I mean, it's weird what kind of movies become really iconic in horror. Like, in a way, Sleepaway Camp is kind of like that. It's odd that became kind of iconic in the way it did.
Yeah.
And
Sleepaway Camp's not terrible, though.
No, it's a great... I'm not saying it's a bad movie. It's just kind of, weird how it works out that way, that a movie like that becomes iconic,
Fair.
And it's kind of the same thing with this movie. I mean... This was a movie that had a lot of controversy building up to its release and everything. Apparently, it was considered for a full release, but it was TriStar that did this, right?
Yes, they did.
Yeah, TriStar apparently, after pressure from outside groups, mainly a bunch of moms with nothing better to do.
I hate moms with nothing better to do.
Yeah,
suburban moms.
Yeah, we have a name. Yeah, we have a name for that nowadays. Our generations.
Desperate housewives.
Drinking mimosas.
Oh God! But apparently, yeah, this movie was actually pulled from distribution after a few weeks, even after it made back its original budget and everything.
Yeah. And it went on and to have essentially a different life in physical media, like VHS, it kind of was starting to become a cult classic. Is that correct?
I mean, because it had such a limited release. I mean, it was initially a hit with the younger crowd, and as soon as it started to hit home video, that's where it really started to take off. But that's the case with a lot of slasher movies.
Nationwide, it would have been bigger, but now it's more popular more than ever.
Yeah. And it's not even a movie that would be that far-fetched to come out nowadays either.
I mean, yeah, it's certainly controversial. I mean, what is there not to pick it over? You've got titties, you've got classic slasher kills, and it's all done in the holiday spirit.
Yep.
Indeed. Captain, what did you think about the actual framing of the story of this movie? It's kind of interesting because it's a little different from other slasher movies in that we actually get a little bit of a backstory to the main killer.
So this is one of the things that I found so compelling about this movie was Billy's arc. For maybe your listeners, I was on The Grinch last year, and you guys did You Were Next on our show, but we're a show that focuses on mental health awareness through pop culture. And so one of the things that I found really compelling about Billy's story was the fact that he becomes a killer solely basically out of the Harvey Dent logic of tragic, where you either live long enough to see yourself become the villain or you die a hero. And that was really compelling for me to kind of see it. Now, I have thoughts once he finally takes on the Santa suit that we can get into a little bit later, but I liked the fact that they gave him this tragic backstory, really fleshed out his character and rooted it in reality because, like Ash was saying, it's not really too far-fetched to see something like this happen modern day on the big screen, but even like pulling up something like CNN and watching someone do this.
Yeah, it's not even that far-fetched when it comes to real life, you know?
Mm-hmm.
No, and Billy is a victim
killings.
through and through.
Yep.
Go ahead, bro.
There are actual massacres on Christmas Day too, you know?
Yeah, there was one where a dude was wearing a Santa suit that happened. It was like maybe about 10 years ago or so.
I'll believe it.
So people do this. This is actual real shit.
Yeah.
Oh, no. You got me worried, guys.
Yeah, but
I did that Your Next episode, and for like the entire next 2 weeks, I was scared shitless about someone just coming into my home.
Yeah.
Really? You were scared of that?
Because that's something that could actually happen.
Yeah,
it's
a home invasion movie, dude. I mean, it could happen.
Supernatural.
I know, but this is still Texas. I mean, come on now.
Yeah, and it's Texas right after the election when Biden was president, and I'm a prominent leftist in a very in a very conservative demographic. So
yeah, well,
I actually have something to fear about. I'm pretty outspoken with my beliefs on Facebook. So
once again, like I said, we're in Texas.
Yeah.
Ugh.
It's tense pretty much across the board in all states. So
yeah, pretty much.
Not just in Texas.
It is. But here in Texas, we like to do it bigger here, and so do
Everything
they.
is bigger in Texas.
But anywho.
Well, I was going to say that Billy is a victim in this movie, kind of tacking on to what you were saying before, Cap. But you have a lot of sympathy for Billy, even throughout the entire movie, because it seems to me that after what he had gone through, it's almost like it was just the perfect mix of ingredients that triggered the psychopathic, or I guess you could say sociopathic spree that he goes on, because he's got some alcohol in his system. He's got that childhood trauma, and he literally witnesses a rape.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Twice in his life. But even so, you have to also say something about how this could still be even a negative portrayal of people with those types of illnesses and trauma or anything like that, right?
I would argue that, yes, I could see that point of view as well, because you are saying this is the most extreme result possible that could come from something like this.
Yeah.
Now, also, too, one of the things that I did appreciate about the second movie is the fact that Ricky, who also Billy's little brother, witnesses everything and says he's basically kind of going through a therapeutic session the entire first half to an hour of that movie, recounting all of the events of the first film. So Billy is that kind of goes into that you could get into the whole discussion of like men and mental health and like how men kind of like almost close themselves off. So it's like that is an extreme result, but also at the same time, like if society didn't pressure men to kind of be a certain way, and that it wasn't a bad thing to talk about your feelings, I could definitely see it from the bad point of view. But also at the same time, it's like it's the perfect storm of, like Ash was saying, of everything, with the booze and witnessing the rapes and then this trauma, and then keeping that bottled up for the entire time. Like it's like no one's really going to understand why I fear Santa Claus, but when I tell them in this perspective about this story, then maybe they'd understand it.
Yeah, precisely.
And he's got all this fear of Santa Claus and association of Santa Claus to these things that he's witnessed, and then he is Santa Claus. So in a sense, as he sees it, he has no choice but to move forward and do what Santa Claus is supposed to do. And that's even foreshadowed with his boss, Mr. Sims, drilling that into him. You got to do, and he's very vague about it, and it's done on purpose, because he's like, you have to do what what Santa Claus does on Christmas Eve, right? And here's Billy like thinking about that, like, I've got to do what Santa Claus does.
I would say that scene is subtle like a brick, honestly, because it just foreshadows everything. He pretty much pokes and prods Billy into doing what he does.
Yeah.
Completely unaware.
Almost consciously in a way. I don't know. It's kind of on the nose as far as those types of scenes are concerned.
Naughty.
Now that kind of brings me back to the scene really early on in the movie where we see the grandfather. And that is like one of the stupidest parenting choices ever, right? Let's leave your kid with your catatonic, out of his mind grandfather, there's no telling what he will say to him.
But it made for one of the creepiest moments in the movie.
Yeah. Probably in horror film history. Even.
Yeah. I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah. Just the delivery, it's like that he's trying to just fuck with this kid, but there's just a glee to it, kind of. There's a gleam in his eye while he's saying it, but it's still delivered in a way where it's just like, whoa, this is intimidating. This is fierce. This is dirty. Like, what the hell?
Another moment that's very on the nose, too, because there's no reason that the grandfather should be acting like that except for the fact that he's completely crazy. And it just so happens that that's what happens to the family that night.
Yeah, exactly. Pretty much.
I don't know. Could that just be called convenient exposition, though?
Probably.
Yeah, that's what it is.
They actually reenact that same scene in the remake, don't they? Almost like word for word, right?
Practically.
I think we watched that.
Yeah, it was practically note for note.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I kind of have a theory about the grandfather. My theory is that he is someone who went through the whole Santa Claus thing, and he's already passed it on to somebody, but he just went really crazy because of it, and now he just fucks with kids just for the fuck of it, right?
So with that theory, are you saying that it's kind of almost like the end of Halloween 4, where they implied that Michael Myers has a gene in his bloodline that passes on the evil?
Yeah, something like that. It's just something in the clause that actually passes on his compunction to, punish naughty children that way.
In the clause.
So
I don't know. I'm just bullshitting, honestly. That's just kind of a theory that sounds funny to me. Is that somehow the grandfather is Santa Claus in some way?
Or the Dos Equis guy.
Oh, yeah. He's probably the most likely the Dos Equis guy. Like 100%.
Can he be the Mel Gibson version of Santa Claus? Because that Santa Claus is badass.
Yo, you guys can hear us talk about Fat Man on Victims and Villains too.
Yeah.
Part 2 for the Crosscast.
Yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun because that trailer really piqued my interest. That's an original angle to take as far as Santa Claus is concerned. Right, Robert?
Yeah, that is crazy. I thought Reindeer's Games was crazy.
Oh, Reindeer Games. That's a great movie.
Yeah.
Love that movie.
Yeah. It's been a while, but great movie.
Yeah, and I like the way that the image of Santa Claus is used in this movie, of course.
Yeah, it's always kind of really ominous and foreboding. It's always in the background, kind of looming over everything, right?
Man, I did not like really pick up on that, but like now in hindsight, the way that the director kind of like blocked each scene did a really good job with kind of like hinting that as well.
Yeah. Like here's an interesting example. It's when Billy first is made to put the Santa suit on, and he's looking in the mirror. And if you look on top of the mirror, like there's several Halloween masks of like Mickey Mouse and Minnie Mouse and everything, kind of just looking at him with like just blank eyes, just wild bewilderment kind of. And to me, that's an interesting bit of visual foreshadowing as to what Billy is about to become.
Did it bother anyone that like when Billy goes like full homicidal that he never actually had the beard on? Like it was always wrapped around his like chin diaper.
Yes, that bothered me too.
That was weird. I mean, even that little girl who Linnea Quigley was babysitting didn't really like notice anything about that. I don't get that.
I think you look like Zach Morris. I don't know.
Zach Morris in a Santa suit.
I can't unsee it now. No, he's like that scene where he has the little girl on his lap and she's like wiggling and he's like, if you don't stay still, Santa's gonna have to punish you and I'm gonna, come and mess you up. And like,
yeah,
she,
that was weird.
Cries to mommy. It's such an intense but effective scene, and seeing him as this like traditional jolly man in full getup with the beard up to his nose, it made it that much more creepier.
It was. Yeah.
I don't understand why they would like forego that for the remainder of the movie.
It's a very weird directorial choice, to say the least. I mean, I'm with you. I think that he should have had the beard on most of the time, especially when he went into the house where Linnea Quigley was. Like, I think that would have made that even more terrifying.
Especially the fact that the point of origin for his trauma was a guy in a full Santa beard.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it would be a cool moment where you see him lift up the mustache and beard. So like essentially he's becoming the Santa Claus that he knows.
Yeah, he's gone full mask on in a way. That would have been really symbolic. And they didn't go that way.
Yeah, that's what the remake focuses on. It's a mask. I think it's like a plastic mask with a glued on beard, right?
Yeah, it's one of those really cheap Santa masks.
Anyway, he made it himself, and it looks freaking terrifying.
Okay, I don't know if anyone has ever seen Doctor Who, but some of the Christmas episodes of Doctor Who are pretty wacky. And I want to say there is one of them where they have full on like Santa helmets and they kill people.
Oh, Lord.
That's awesome. I need to find that episode.
Man, I need to watch more Doctor Who. I think it's in the
New Who era. Yeah, I want to say it was the one of the 10th Doctor Christmas episodes. It was his first episode, yeah.
You guys remember the Tales from the Crypt episode? What was that, All Through the House or something?
Yeah, that's like one of the first season episodes, actually. Like the very first one.
Originally televised on HBO.
And that had a classic Santa Claus killer.
Yeah, the same in every way almost. Except, an escaped mental patient.
Yeah, he was closer to like Black Christmas, that Santa killer.
Yeah, Black Christmas.
But in this movie, it kind of has a second villain in the Mother Superior. I mean, her methods.
Oh, fuck her.
Yeah, her methods are pretty much what solidify Billy's descent into madness in so many ways, right, guys?
Yeah, they kind of created the monster. And you have Sister Margaret, who throughout the entire movie is sympathetic to Billy's plight and it was always on his side. But then you have like Mother Superior. And it's almost kind of like the dichotomy in organized religion where you have, good people and then you have bad people.
Well, to me, it's something a little more ingrained in a structural sense. I mean, Sister Margaret, she doesn't have a whole lot of power over what is happening with Billy. It's pretty much all left up to Mother Superior.
And her methods.
Yeah, and her methods. It's like, and these methods are essentially just hardcore disciplinarian bullshit, which we all know doesn't actually work.
Corporal punishment.
Doesn't work in this situation, needless to say.
No. It almost too, like, it almost kind of makes it that much worse for Billy, because you have one of the scenes, I think it's the second transition where he is made to sit on Santa's lap, and kid gives him a beautiful upper decker.
Oh man, yeah, that was amazing.
Right hook right there. And that trauma is she's like, I'm just gonna make him face his fears head on, and sometimes that can intensify his fears and make the mental health of the individual that much worse.
Yeah, it's not what I would call effective treatment at all, but I don't really think that Mother Superior is an actual, professional as far as that type of child care is concerned. Not at all.
No.
Like Sister Margaret seems like she might have a little bit of that type of training, but like I said, she just doesn't have much of a voice there, and that's more of a structural issue with the actual hierarchy of the church.
Okay, if they all knew that Santa Claus killed his parents, why would they make him sit on his lap?
It's just part of that hardcore authoritarian disciplinarian approach to child rearing that it's always been proven to be more negative.
So,
to
in a way,
development.
In a way, this was bound to happen. This was only his destiny to begin with.
I mean, especially since his trauma is associated with a holiday that comes every year without fail, starts actually creeping in earlier and earlier every year.
Kind of like Halloween.
Kind of like Halloween.
Just like Halloween.
They allude to that too, that every year, like around this time, he gets bad. And then right after Christmas, he's good again. And he's, a functioning member of society. He's a good, upstanding person for most of the year. It's just around Christmas.
Well, you see that when he starts working at the toy store, and he's like, you have those cheesy 80s sitcom monologues, or not monologues, montage. That's the word I was looking
montage.
for.
Yeah, that's right.
And then he sees Santa Claus, and it's just like everything kind of goes downhill. He's like, oh, no.
And it's like,
and the other guy mentions it, his manager, who's not the owner, but like underneath him, but is like the guy that ends up, hitting on his girl crush. He's like, you've been giving me an attitude lately. And so you get this sense that, like around the holidays, he's getting more agitated. There's a scene earlier in the orphanage scene that also kind of does that as well. I like how the first 30 minutes of this movie, almost half the movie is actually just the setup.
I feel like it makes it that much more effective from that angle, is because our show,
the time jump.
Yeah. So on our show, every Friday the 13th, we've been working our way through the franchise. And one of the things that I always mention is like, I hate how like a lot of these characters never feel properly fleshed out. Another argument for another day. I don't want to get into it here.
Yeah.
But I appreciate that this film is kind of the anomaly for that formula, that you actually are spending so much getting to know this character and really seeing how this traumatic effect really is playing all the way into adulthood. Because I think you don't really ever think about that as when you're a kid, or like when you think about kids, that if they experience something traumatic like that it could play into childhood into adulthood unless proper attention is given.
Yeah. I was going to say that him working at a toy store, I mean, it's kind of part of that perfect storm that Ash was alluding to earlier. He is at a place that is invariably going to start getting into Christmas in a way that will just have it like just full on in front of his face at all times during the holidays. So it's like, it's probably the worst environment for him to work at.
Yeah, it is actually. That's crazy.
Did you guys think that this was his first job too?
That's kind of what they let it out to be. His sister Margaret was looking for a job for him and had asked the owner if he would take him on. So that's the impression that I got.
Yeah, well, you have to remember, like, within the canon of this movie, he's 18 years old.
Right.
He's just hit adulthood. So, I mean, that might be the first time that he's actually going out and trying to look for work.
Yeah.
Right. And he's 18, so they're not going to be able to watch him anymore.
Yeah.
Like, that's when you usually get kicked out of the orphanage. So she's going out of her way probably to set him off on a good foot and get him started off, like, hey, here you have a job, and now you can take care of yourself.
Yeah. Yet another example of Sister Margaret actually doing something for the benefit of Billy's personal well-being,
Right.
But even so, he still gets a job at a toy store. It's like, oh, my Lord. It's like, that's okay up until a certain point for him.
And
Right.
that kind of makes me think of the fact of, do we really truly understand the depth of what he went through? Because, when they find Billy and I forget his little brother, Ricky. So when they find both of these and they get admitted to the orphanage, they just see that the car's been driven off the road, mother's shirt's open, and the father's dead. They didn't know that he was killed by a Santa.
It's never really alluded to whether or not the Santa Claus killer in the first half of the movie was actually caught or anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So it is plausible to think that, they really don't understand the trauma linked with Santa and the holidays of why everything is doing. They could just be like, oh, well, he's experiencing this because this is the time of year where his parents died,
Mm-hmm.
Makes
Makes sense. Yeah. It makes the movie make a lot more sense if you take that into account, that they don't know the details of it. That's a good point. I never thought about that.
Sister Margaret doesn't know that she's basically setting him up to fail, as does Mother Superior.
It kind of seems in the end that Billy might actually get his revenge on Mother Superior for a second there. It gets really, really close to him picking that axe up, and there's a moment where she's almost resigned to it. It looks like where she closes her eyes and she's just expecting that blow, but then the detective shoots him.
But spoiler alert, Ricky gets his revenge on Mother Superior in the sequel, and by the time that we see Mother Superior in the sequel, she has evolved to Two-Face.
Yeah, well, I mean, they had to get a different actress to play Mother Superior in the second movie. They couldn't get the original Mother Superior.
Oh, I did not know that. I always wondered why she looked slightly different.
Yeah, that's why it's a different actress. I mean, I don't know why they couldn't get the original woman who played Mother Superior, but And
I'm just surprised you went all the way into the second one, because I just feel like cutting it off,
Well, at least it's not like Mortal Kombat 2 or Annihilation, where all the characters were replaced practically.
Oh, man, that's so terrible.
We were talking about that. See, if it was the real Johnny Cage, he wouldn't have died.
No, he wouldn't have died if that was true Johnny Cage. No.
Throwback to our last episode, which was a collab between Collateral Cinema and Collateral Gaming.
I'm so sorry that you guys sat through that movie. I tried last year to watch it, and I was got 20 minutes into this, and I was like, I feel like I'm getting dumber with every minute.
We didn't watch Annihilation. We just watched the first one.
Yeah.
We tried to pretend that Annihilation doesn't exist, kind of like Master Disguise. So
I saw Annihilation in theaters.
I did too,
Yeah.
and it was terrible.
I'm so sorry you wasted your money.
it was horrible.
It was a $1 movie on Everest. Right?
Yeah, that's right. It was a $1 movie in San Antonio. Yeah, but there's at least 13 kills in this movie, right, Robert?
Yeah.
Let's elaborate on some of those kill scenes. What's the first one that comes to mind? Probably
the grocery store clerk.
Oh yeah, the lady
In the beginning, where the Santa Claus comes in.
Oh yeah.
And he tries robbing the store, and he plugs the clerk 3 times.
Yeah, that's what kind of grounds this movie a little bit in sort of reality in a way.
Yeah.
That's what kind of makes Billy's trauma even worse. Is that this is just a stone cold killer who just shot somebody over barely $40.
Yeah.
I mean, of course he was going to do whatever he could because he was desperate.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, that's a pretty memorable scene because, I mean, he just blasts him 3 times. I mean, shit.
I mean, as soon as he saw he was reaching for his gun, and then he just ends up taking the money out of the register.
He was reaching for that 38. And
yeah.
Shit, man. Guys, what was some of your most memorable kills in this movie?
I gotta say, whenever the character of Denise, what did you say her actor's name was? Linnea Quigley or something?
Linnea Quigley?
Yeah.
Linnea Quigley. Yeah, whenever he lifts her and puts her onto the antlers.
That is a classic scene. And that was last Christmas. I don't know if y'all follow The Last Drive-In with Joe Bob Briggs. His mail girl, Darcy, Diana Prince, that's her real name. She replicated that kill in the Christmas episode from last year. She full on antlers through her shit and everything. It was done to comedic effect, but it's I thought I'd bring that up because I mean that was pretty memorable, and that's a kind of an iconic scene as well.
Yeah, I probably would have to say that is probably my favorite kill in this one as well. Though I did like the idea of being strung up by lights with his warehouse manager. I thought that was done very well.
Was the night before Christmas, when all through the house, not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. The stockings were hung by the chimney with care, in hopes that St. Nicholas soon would be there. You've made it through Halloween. Now try and survive Christmas. Silent night. Deadly night.
Would have been a little bit cooler had we kind of gotten something like the Halloween cop light kind of thing.
Yeah.
In the new one where like they would have actually lit his light up, but I thought that was probably one of the better ones too.
Yeah, that was a pretty cool scene. And I mean, yeah, the bow and arrow scene. It's like,
Yeah.
who was it earlier that asked, why the fuck they would have a real bow and arrow in?
I asked
Story.
that as
In
I
Toy
was
Story, Toy
watching
Story.
that. I was like,
Yeah, it's like I guess that was just toy stores in the '80s or the early '80s.
It was for the good guy doll, the Child's Play doll.
It was for the good guy doll. It was for Chucky, man. God damn it.
What about you, Bo? Your memorable kill scene?
The sled kill all the way. I mean, I'm always down for a good movie decapitation, and that one delivered. I mean, especially
and then the head rolls down, and I just had to laugh whenever that happened.
yeah, and it couldn't happen to more deserving guys, honestly.
That was just
Yeah,
like
fuck
Friday the
those guys.
13th.
Yeah,
Crazy.
yeah, it was very much of a Friday the 13th kind of kill.
Pretty nasty.
But yeah, I mean, that scene is kind of humorous and it's scary at the same time. And it's one of the all-time classics. But also that clerk that gets killed with the bow and arrow, that's kind of memorable as well. That's the last one of the actual staff that he kills. And yeah,
Save
I
the
mean,
best for
I don't know.
last.
No, it won't be the last. No, not at all.
no, I mean, like out of the toy store staff, like it was the best for last.
It was the best, but yeah, save the best for last. I got you. Yeah. Robert, what was your favorite?
My favorite, there's a lot
I
of
think you
moments.
mentioned the clerk, right?
Well, the beginning. Yeah, I mentioned the clerk, but I don't know. There's 13 of them. It's kind of hard to remember all of them, actually.
And there's such
No. You know what it is? It's when you know the Santa Claus is walking over to the orphanage, right?
Oh,
And
that's
then the cops,
right.
they're walking over to the kids, right? And then the cop just plugs them
Yeah,
right in front of those kids.
It turns out it was the deaf priest that was just trying to bring some holiday cheer.
Yeah.
Damn it.
So they killed the wrong Santa
Hey.
Claus.
Almost had a second Santa Claus do that as well with the father sneaking into his daughter's bedroom.
Yeah.
Yeah, it almost happened then. It's like that was kind of a cute scene, I think. Even though, I mean, how many dads are going to do that? I mean, I guess that was kind of an 80s thing.
Go right up through the chimney. How many fathers got stuck in the chimney in the 80s?
Oh, my Lord.
Well, you want to get dark, you can always talk about the Phoebe Cates character from Gremlins.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Maybe that's a movie we could talk about next year, man. Gremlins is a fucking amazing movie.
Love that movie.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, this movie had quite a few sequels. And the sequels, like we said, the second movie is kind of a clip show pretty much. But have any of y'all seen the fourth or the fifth movie, the third, fourth, or fifth ones?
So I had actually like, I don't know if I repressed this or like I just didn't process it until I saw this movie. But when I was growing up, I used to spend time over a buddy of mine's house all the time. And like my parents were pretty like conservative, like Christian household. So it's like horror wasn't allowed. And he didn't care. So oftentimes I would watch stuff over there. And one of the first ones that I'd actually seen was part 5, The Toy Maker with Don Rickles.
No, that's Mickey Rooney.
Mickey Rooney, that's who it was.
Which is ironic. Excuse me, it's ironic because he criticized the first movie.
That is ironic. And it's such an unlikely character for this franchise too. But I ended up watching that and forgot about it for years. Thought it was always a Child's Play sequel. And so when I went back last year and rewatched all the Child's Plays for our coverage of the reboot, I was like, where's this movie that I remembered? And when I watched this, it like everything clicked together. So this was
that's funny that you would
the first horror movie I've ever seen.
That is funny that you would actually confuse those two. Not entirely unsurprising. I don't blame you. I mean, they kind of have a similar feel to them, both franchises, right, Robert?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know part 3 and 4, 5 were even a thing. Kind of like the House movies, I thought it was just the 2, I didn't know there was 4 of those.
Yeah. For the longest time, I wasn't aware that there were more House movies either, but I don't know. I remember seeing part 5 of Silent Night, Deadly Night years ago. I think it was an edited for TV version, and it was on one of the local channels, like one of the Fox 35 channels.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of remember that one because of that one evil Santa Claus toy that kills the dad. Like that's what really kind of stands out to me from that movie. So yeah, I definitely saw that movie.
I think there's actually that evil Santa. I think there's actually a Simpsons parody of that episode.
Yeah,
of that movie.
Yeah, it's a Treehouse of Horror. I'm not sure which one it was, but yeah, it was a Krusty doll, and turns out in the end he was just turned on to evil. Spoiler, everybody. That was a great episode. I love that shit. But I guess, I don't know, maybe we can start wrapping up a little bit.
Oh, we can talk about the remake. We didn't do that.
We talk about the remake. Yeah, let's talk about the remake. Have y'all seen Silent Night, the remake?
The 2012 version?
I remember seeing the trailers for it when it came out, but I've not watched it. And I'm very much over remakes.
Yeah. But Robert, you own that movie, right?
Yes, I do.
What's the most notable parts of that movie?
Man, just the kills. Just they're more elaborate than the original, almost.
Yeah, I think I kind of remember some of it.
Like when he was electrocuting this one cop, he wrapped him up with Christmas lights and then turned a fuse breaker on.
So it's kind of elaborating on one of the kills from the original, just kind of.
I mean, they used they used the same the deer horn kill too.
Oh wow, really?
But
I think I remember.
Yeah, remember that?
Yeah.
Or one of the crazy kills in that movie was when he cuts that girl's leg off and then he throws her in the wood chipper.
Oh,
dude, that effect is just dirty.
Yeah, and that was kind of a low budget movie, right?
Yeah, I mean you got Malcolm McDowell in the leading role, but he's a star.
Jesus, man. Ash, I take it you've never heard of that movie?
Which movie?
The Silent Night remake.
That's what I thought you were talking about, but no, I mean, I heard about it now after doing a little bit of research for this podcast.
We'll watch it.
All of which, so the sequels 2 through 5 and the remake are now streaming on Tubi for free.
Yeah, nice.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, strangely enough, Silent Night, Deadly Night itself is not free to stream. Like, we had to rent it on YouTube to watch it.
No.
Same.
I rented it on Apple TV because fuck Google. I'm not going to give them money.
I want to say that maybe it's on Shudder, but I haven't had my Shudder subscription on for a while, so...
No, so the only one on Shudder right now is actually the second one.
Oh, really? Wow. Yeah. Well, I mean, for fuck's sake, it has a recap of the entire fucking movie. Why not?
It's a piece of garbage, dude. Yeah. They should have not made the second one.
Oh my lord! I mean, why would you need the first movie? I mean, you just watch that and then learn everything you need to know about it.
Yeah, but you miss the emotional core of that movie.
Exactly. That's really what this movie boils down to, is that it's really a character study of this kid going through this trauma and then finally just breaking down in a violent way.
Yeah. And it, like I said before, I mean, there's a good portion of the movie that's just the build-up for that and allowing you to sympathize with the character, essentially. And you see that all of these are just the right ingredients, you know, like we were saying before a few times, the perfect storm, in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have a trauma victim who then almost has no choice but to move onward with that based on the events that happened throughout the film, you know? Believable or not.
Yep.
I would argue that it's kind of almost like a self-contained prison that he's made for himself, in the fact that because of his trauma, he hasn't spoken about it, and that's the reason that he feels like he has to really become Santa, for lack of a better word.
Right.
Yeah. You're pretty much watching just this downward spiral for this kid, because one of the things that I was wondering is, I mean, would he have gone off like this had he like been a landscaper or something like that? Or is Christmas and Santa Claus just something so inescapable that he would have broke down like this eventually, one way or the other?
It was only a matter of time, right?
Yeah, but would not working at a toy store had kind of
not triggered that?
Not trigger that immediately?
I think, yeah, putting on the Santa suit definitely triggered.
Yeah.
That's what I was also going to say, is that the first time that he stares in the mirror and he sees himself as Santa Claus and like having to embrace a lot of his own ideology of what he believes Santa is because of this traumatic event and because of his grandfather's monologue, you know, stop it or I'll punish you. That's like 180 degrees away from like the traditional Santa that we know. So like his own version of Santa Claus is like twisted.
Yeah, so I mean, definitely working in this toy store was just not good for his psyche. It was, I mean, it seemed like the environment was maybe even a little toxic, kind of, like especially with his back room manager.
Yeah, fuck that guy.
Yeah, no kidding.
Can I ask you guys something too? So we're talking about like stepping back with like the streaming. Did your version have like these random shots that would like go out of focus?
Yes.
Like, here and there, yeah. I mean,
Dude,
I think
it bothered me so much.
It bothered me that the quality of the film would change. It would just in an instant, like when as soon as they set up the next shot, you had this really like shitty quality, grainy film. You know, that really did bug me.
It did. That's how it was shot.
I want to say that that's because maybe they uncovered some new footage recently and made a full. That's what makes the full uncut version of it,
dude.
Because I could swear like a good example is the antler kill scene. Like there's those moments where you could tell it was added in after the movie was really edited the first time, because when you actually see the antlers going through her abdomen, it starts getting really grainy and really dark and kind of out of focus. I mean, there's a lot of moments like that.
That's some of the uncut version.
Yeah. I mean, that's my best guess, is that, I mean, they had to use that footage to make the uncut version, but, I mean, they just didn't have the time to really mess with it and get it to fit in with the movie the way it should have.
My Bloody Valentine is like that, the original.
Yeah, it is.
Some of the kill scenes.
And I have a version of Army of Darkness that's supposed to be the quote-unquote bootleg version that was released many years ago, and that has extra footage that's added that has that same effect. It gets really, really grainy, and it looks kind of incongruous in context to the actual movie that was released. So that's my best guess with that.
I would also even dare to say that, given the controversy that you're talking about at the beginning of the episode with the MPAA, like they were a lot harsher on movies like this back in the 80s than they are today. So I'm almost kind of saying like that the version that was released in theaters, where you have like all of like the main shots, and so like the uncut version is kind of what they sent to video and like spliced in everything.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, more than likely that's probably what's on the master tape. I would imagine it's like that. That's probably taken straight from the masters.
Hey, Quentin Tarantino says he owns an original copyright.
Yeah,
Damn.
that's right. He owns an original print of the movie.
Crazy.
And apparently him and Robert Rodriguez, like, I forget what it was. I think it was that Tribeca or something.
Some film thing.
Some film festival. They actually recreated the grandfather's scene, like word for word.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Grandpa? Mom!
What you want her for? She can't help you. Nobody can. You scared, ain't you? You should be. Christmas Eve is the scariest damn night of the year. I'd be scared too if I was you. You know what happens Christmas Eve, don't you? You know all about Santa Claus.
He brings presents to all good boys and girls.
Your daddy told you that, didn't he? Well, I tell you something. Santa Claus only brings presents to them that's been good all year. To the ones that ain't done nothing naughty. Naughty. All the other ones. All the naughty ones. He punishes. What about you, boy? You've been good all year? You see Santa Claus tonight? You better run, boy. You better run for your life.
So he's a huge fan of this movie, and that's not surprising. You know, he's really into these types of movies.
Did you guys know that the kill scenes had to be directed by the editor because the director was uncomfortable with the gore-heavy parts?
Yeah, they got a director. Like, initially they wanted some younger blood, you know, kind of like a John Carpenter at the time, but instead Charles Sellier, I think that's his name,
Junior.
Sellier Jr. He'd already been in the industry for a little while, like a good 40 years.
He had
like,
done some Christian films, right?
Yeah, he did some weird Christian films, like some type of Christian propaganda or something like that.
Yeah, so it's kind of weird how you would do like a horror Santa Claus movie.
Yeah, I don't know. It kind of makes sense why he would be uncomfortable making those types of scenes, I guess.
Yeah, that's weird. How you go from something like that to like this, a film that has, you know, not only amazing gags but also some pretty uncomfortable rape scenes to go through as well.
Well, it's not that out of left field, because I don't know if you've ever seen any type of Christploitation movies by Estes Perkel. He hooked up with a former Grindhouse producer and director, and they made a bunch of Christian scare films like The Believer's Heaven, If Footmen Tire You, What Will Horses Do? Which is just all this weird kind of red baiting shit. I mean, yeah, the whole MAGA thing, it goes back a lot further, and these films actually kind of, you know, elucidate that. But it's not that far-fetched that, you know, somebody who even would just make exploitation movies would just switch over and start making Christploitation films.
Christploitation.
Yeah, that's the name of the genre, Christploitation.
That's great.
Did not even know that was a thing.
Well, yeah, that's pretty much like your God's Not Dead, Let There Be Light, Last Ounce of Courage, and, you know, movies like that. That's pretty much what that is.
That makes sense, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, apparently also this movie was opened on the same weekend as Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah, and strangely enough, it outpaced Nightmare on Elm Street as far as the box office returns are concerned.
But how much of that is actually the controversy and people wanting to understand the controversy better?
Oh, it was 100% the controversy. It was pretty much the Streisand effect.
The Streisand.
No, that's an actual thing where, like, the more that you try to actually repress something, the more likely people are going to try to flock to it to see it because, you know, it's kind of a forbidden fruit.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, kind of like how Jerry Lewis has been trying to suppress The Day the Clown Cried for, like, ever. He has it, like, specifically, it's in the Library of Congress, but he specifically doesn't want it released until his death. Like, that's how badly he doesn't want that movie coming out. So it's kind of similar to that.
Dang.
Yeah. But what do you guys think about the actual Christmas elements of this movie? And is this a movie that people should watch around the holidays? I mean, just in general?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a holiday movie.
I mean, what do y'all think? I mean, especially with the controversy that surrounded it for so long. I mean, it's nothing that would really bat an eye in this day and age, but I mean, if you're into horror, definitely, but I would go so far as to say that this is something that you should watch alongside like Die Hard or Nightmare Before Christmas or, you know, even like The Grinch. You know, put this on afterwards.
You know, I put this up there on my shelf right next to Miracle on 34th Street, It's a Wonderful Life.
Hell yeah.
And A Christmas Story.
And A Christmas Story, yeah. A Christmas Story is that's kind of a horror movie in its own right. Jeez.
You know, just one of those timeless classics.
Yeah.
Even the Frosty the Snowman movie. I don't know.
And also, Farkas follows us on Twitter, so hey, man, how you doing?
So I would say for me, like, this was a first time, and I would definitely say that I've seen a lot of Christmas horror, but nothing has ever been able to like get into like the position of Christmas tradition the way that Black Christmas has.
Yeah, Black Christmas is fundamentally one of the all-time greats when it comes to Christmas horror films.
The original one that came out in the 60s, right?
Yeah. Well, it was the 70s.
74.
Was it 74?
Yeah.
It was the 70s. It had God, what's
Didn't it have Margot Kidder in it?
Yep.
Yeah, it had Margot Kidder. She was in that movie.
John Saxon was in there, right? He played the
John
cop.
Saxon? Yeah.
John Saxon.
Fucking John Saxon, who
Speaking
passed
of
away
Nightmare.
recently. May he rest in peace.
Good actor.
Yeah.
Damn.
But yeah, man, Black Christmas is essential. And I even like the remake of that one, honestly.
Yeah, that wasn't too bad. I mean, they made another one, right? Pretty recently.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm not talking about the recent 2019 remake. I'm talking the 2003 remake. It was the 03, right?
That was like 07 or 06.
It was 07,
right?
06.
I remember the
Yeah.
phones. They were like razor phones, I'm thinking.
Yeah. It's a time capsule, man.
The cinematography for the remake is gorgeous. The yellows and like the greens, like just so stunning.
Especially in the flashback to the killer's backstory.
Pretty messed up.
Yeah.
But for me, I feel like this movie is, and I feel like I'm going to be the black sheep. This movie's fun, but it's a movie that like I just don't see myself like revisiting as much as like you guys would do. I don't know why.
Yeah.
It did not have a profound impact on me.
That's fair enough. Like, to me, what I like about this movie, and I guess we can go ahead and get into our final thoughts for this movie. I'll go ahead and get started. To me, this movie perfectly captures that childhood innocent fear that a kid would have for Santa. Because, you know, it's kind of, you know, half and half with kids. Some kids gravitate to Santa and are really entertained by him. Other kids are just terrified by him. I mean, I don't remember if I was terrified by Santa Claus, but I mean, I could totally see how kids could be creeped out by him. And
I wasn't, because I never believed in Santa Claus. My parents just didn't do the Santa Claus thing with me.
Well, fair enough. Fair enough.
They saw it kind of as lying to your children, and I don't know if I disagree with that actually.
Hey, that's not bad. I actually agree with that approach. You know,
I was kind of more of a rational thinker as a result of it, and it's kind of the approach I want to go with my daughter. Like, just understand that your family gives you presents. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, who do they think gives them all those presents? Well, there's a rumor going around the earth that the parents do it. I suppose the parents eat the milk and cookies too?
No way. How can they do all that in one night?
It's pretty much a child's first example of using Occam's razor, kind of, when they finally discover what's going on with Santa. And that's why
there was a distinct moment of my childhood where I remember having peers that believed in Santa Claus And I thought the entire idea was ridiculous, and I had no idea how they would believe that. There was a distinct moment in my childhood where that happened, and it was weird. It was weird to be in like this, like, I'm not trying to like lift myself up and like I'm so smart or what, but I just remember having that feeling of like, how do you believe this? And it's because like they've always have believed this, and they have no choice but to continue believing it, because why would my parents not tell me the truth about that? So
you know what?
It's almost like an indoctrination.
You know what? Tim Allen was a Santa Claus anyway to me.
Tim Allen, that was your Santa Claus, huh? Yeah, isn't that fitting?
Had to have been, right?
Why did they make Tim Allen Santa Claus? Why did they do that?
Just the first one.
Why does that movie exist?
Oh,
why not?
I'm sorry. I can't do Tim Allen. Tim Allen is just not funny to me in any way, sense or form. It's not even due to any political disagreement. I just don't think he's that great of a comedian or actor. And I don't know, maybe he's okay as Santa Claus, but I don't know. His performance in that movie just comes across as just really mean-spirited, and I just don't like it.
I don't have a problem with Tim Allen. I don't think that movie's very good at all.
You're right. Kurt Russell's a better Santa Claus.
Kurt Russell's a better Santa Claus.
Kurt Russell is a good Santa Claus. Yeah.
Kurt Russell is the Santa Claus.
And so is Mel fucking Gibson.
Mel Gibson, yeah.
Mel Gibson.
Oh, fuck yeah. Yeah, we'll be checking that out on the Crosscast. So, Robert, what are your final thoughts?
You know, it's still a new movie to me, and only seen it for like, I think we saw it like the last few years or a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Anyway, I showed it to you. I fell in love with it. And, you know, I wouldn't mind putting it on like every December, you know.
At least December. Yeah, maybe not exactly on Christmas, but it's definitely a movie to put on during December, right?
Yeah, because I don't think, I think we watched it last December, and I hadn't seen it since. So,
yeah.
You know, it's kind of like those one-time movies you kind of put on once a year.
Right. All right, Captain, what are your final thoughts?
A compelling character study that effectively uses its horror for entertainment, but its last act falls apart in the end.
That's fair enough. All right, Ash, you will wrap it up for us. What are your final thoughts?
I don't know if it's a movie that I'll necessarily be like, yeah, I really want to rewatch that. But if it's the Christmas season, you know, if it's during the holidays and I am watching a bunch of Christmas movies or holiday movies, I think it's something that I might put on again. It would be kind of interesting to see the sequels and the remake as well. I'm interested to. I mean, I know that you guys say that they're bad, or at least the second one is bad, but you got to watch the bad and the good, right?
Yeah, at least
just skip the second one.
Just skip the second one. Okay.
You lived the first one. Just skip the second one.
Okay.
The only notable thing from the second one,
right?
the only notable thing from the second one is the garbage day meme, and you can find that in other ways. So
this is what you do.
Is that where that comes from?
Yes.
You reference that all the time, Bo.
Yeah. This is what you do. Remember the first one and only watch half of the second one.
Yeah, there you go.
Not even it's like the last like 35 minutes.
There, yeah. When he escapes the mental
it's
asylum.
terrible.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Well, let's go ahead and start doing all the plugs and everything. We'll start with Captain Nostalgia. Go ahead and plug your show.
Absolutely. You guys can catch these guys on my show come Christmas Day when we talk about Fact Man, where it is Mel Gibson as Santa Claus and this new fun and exciting interpretation of the character. But you guys can find us everywhere on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, Letterboxd, and wherever you guys get your podcasts from. Victims and Villains will get you guys .net. We'll get you access to all of that social media, past episodes, and most importantly, our suicide prevention library.
Excellent. Yes, and it's definitely a good show. Like, subscribe to them immediately. And Ash, you also have Collateral Gaming stuff to announce, right?
Oh, hell yeah. All right. So we just released our episode on The Last of Us Part 2, which incidentally is Game of the Year. That's crazy to me that like the day that we released the second part of that episode is the day that the Game Awards happened and announced The Last of Us Part 2 as Game of the Year. So please go check that out right now. It's already out. We have a Part 1 and a Part 2 of Part 2. And in addition, be ready for our anniversary episode on Skyrim and our own holiday special on Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Excellent. And with Collateral Cinema, we are going to be... Actually, you know what? Let's let Robert plug Killing Night next.
if you haven't seen it already, watch Killing Night on YouTube, IGTV, or what else? That's pretty much it.
Yeah, pretty much.
And subscribe to my channel if you can. Friend me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. And
it's your movie, Robert. Why do you not know where it's listed at?
I forgot. I got other things. I'm working on cinematography for my next film.
That's fair enough.
Yeah, so look for Texas Sundown. So
yeah.
I'll be doing that short film pretty soon.
Texas Sundown. Sounds interesting. Well, Collateral Cinema is going to be diving into David Lynch again very soon after the first of the year. And we're going to be doing Mulholland Drive with a special guest. We are going to have the hosts from Shocked and Applaud come on the show, and they're going to talk about that movie with us. We're looking forward to having them on the show. It's going to be very interesting. And we'll also be doing our anniversary episode, which, of course, is our Miike-versary. That's going to be Takashi Miike's Gozu. And I can't wait to show that movie to you guys. It is a mindfuck and a half. I mean, and it's appropriate that we're going from David Lynch to Takashi Miike and Gozu.
It's only fitting.
It's only fitting that we do that, yeah. So
I love Takashi Miike, and I'm getting introduced to more and more of his work over time.
Oh, yeah. That's why we specifically do that on our anniversary episode. We specifically explore Takashi Miike films there. So, yeah, Gozu is going to be a lot of fun. So look for that very soon. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can also check us out on Patreon. We have tiers starting at $1. Please become a patron on our show. And you can also find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Chill Lover Radio, Loftycast Radio. You can find us on iHeartRadio. And you can get us wherever you get your podcasts at. So with that, we're going to go ahead and get the hell out of here before the wind blows us away. I'm Bo Maddox.
I'm Robert Ortegon.
I'm Ashley Chancellor.
And I'm Captain Nostalgia.
And this was Collateral Cinema. And check us out on the Victims and Villains Crosscast. See you later.
Bye.
Santa's watching, Santa's creeping. Now you're nodding, now you're sleeping. Were you good for Mom and Dad? Santa knows if you've been bad. There might be a treat for you in Santa's bag of toys. But Christmas won't be fun and games for naughty girls and boys. Santa's watching, Santa's waiting, everybody's celebrating. Did you do your best this year? Too late now, 'cause Santa's here. Santa's watching, Santa's creeping. Now you're nodding, now you're sleeping. Were you good for Mom and Dad? Santa knows if you've been bad. There might be a treat for you in Santa's bag of toys. But Christmas won't be fun and games for naughty girls and boys. Santa's watching, Santa's waiting, everybody's celebrating. Did you do your best this year? Too late now, 'cause Santa's here.
Collateral Cinema is an L Company production. All music and movie clips are owned by the respective creators and are used for educational purposes only. Please don't sue us. We're poor.